Greetings, beloved, and welcome to On the Living Edge. I'm Dr. Mark Chironna, and it's such a delight to spend this time with you. To all of our Destiny partners and friends, as always, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you right off the top, because your faithfulness, your support, your prayers, your love enable us to take the gospel to over 180 nations all around the world. You are the difference that makes the difference. Thank you. I really have been amazed at what this brand new series, Grace, the Favor Leaning in Your Direction, has been doing for the lives of so many around the world. And we have only been able to share with you snippets of it, but these little pockets of the entire series are bringing life to people that have been languishing in difficult situations. And I want this to be an encouragement to you tonight as we take one further look at grace leaning in your direction as favor. Open your heart, open your mind, open the scriptures. God's got something amazing in store for you. Remain standing for the reading of the word of the Lord. From the prophet Zechariah, one of the prophets, the young prophet of the restoration and return of the exiles, who stood alongside the old prophet Haggai and stewarded a move of God in a day when the devil said, I dare you to try it. And God said, don't dare me to do anything, because I'm about to make a fool out of you, devil. You need to hear me. God's about to make a fool out of the devil on your behalf. If I've ever felt the unction to preach, I feel it this morning. The glory of God is in this place. The hand of the Lord is mighty in here. Somebody is about to get set free. God's about to turn your mourning into dancing. You're about to put off your sackcloth. He's giving you the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. I feel the chains breaking. The saints of God are rising. The Lord is moving. Somebody give him another shout. Then the angel who was speaking with me returned and roused me as a man who is awakened from his sleep. Tell somebody the angels are making a second visit to your house today. You thought they left you, but they're on the way back. Wake up and open the door. It's a day of visitation. Oh, somebody give him a shout. Come on. Tell somebody, I thought I missed it the first time around, but God's about to give me a second opportunity, and I'm not going to miss it this time. The angel is coming back for me. And the angel said to me, what do you see? Tell somebody you're about to see something. Tell somebody, God, by His grace, is about to shift the way you see what's been bothering you. Oh, I feel Him in here. And tell Him, and when God changes the way you see it, it's going to change what you say about what you see. So that what you say about what you see is going to change what you've been seeing about what you've been saying. Somebody give Him a shout. Oh! The wonderful counselor is in the room. We're getting a therapy session from the Holy Ghost. Something is shifting. Give Him a shout. He said, what do you see? And he said, I see. Just the ability to know you can see is a gift. I pray that the eyes of your heart, Paul says, would be enlightened. In other words, what he's praying? He's praying that you learn how to see. God wants you to see. Because if you keep seeing, you're going to see stuff you've been missing. You're not leaving here today without seeing what you've been missing. And what's been missing is so big, it's going to overshadow what you think is missing, and it's going to overshadow the thing that's been blocking your vision from seeing what's been missing. Somebody say, I see. I see. I see. I see. I can see. And behold. That's another word for look. I see and behold. I see and behold. I see and behold. A lampstand, all of gold, with its bowl on the top of it, and its 7 lamps on it, with 7 spouts belonging to each of the lamps which are on the top of it. Also 2 olive trees by it, one on the right side of the bowl and one on the left side. Then I asked the angel who was speaking with me, what are these, my Lord? And the angel was speaking with me and said to me, do you not know what these are? I answered, no, my Lord. Because some of the stuff you see it, but you don't know what it is. Some of you are seeing stuff you don't know what it is, but God is about to define it. Clarity and definition is coming to your vision. Oh, I feel the prophetic. Clarity and definition is coming to your vision. So the angel said, do you not know what these are? I said, no, my Lord. Then he said to me, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel. This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel. Look at somebody, say, your name is Zerubbabel. Now tell them, you didn't know that, did you? Tell somebody, this is my word this morning. This is for me to hear. This is a right now word with a right time anointing, right for where I am. My name is being talked about in heaven. I am Zerubbabel. This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of the hosts. What are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, you will become a plain, and he will bring forth the top stone with shouts of grace, grace to it. Grab somebody by the hand and say, Father, I'm willing to lift up a shout that grace is about to level the playing field, and what you started on my behalf will come to pass even in this season. Somebody shout, grace, 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 grace. Shout! The enemy's coming in. Well, if the enemy's coming in, where are we going? We're going out. Where are we going? Into a strange land. Babylon. A place of confusion. Our world is collapsing, and we're going into a place of confusion. We've got to leave home. Can we ever come home again? Yes. If you dare to believe that he who began a good work will complete it. Well, how do we come home? When you're ready to come home, you'll come home in humility and brokenness, and realize that you can't take God's grace for granted. That you can't use it as a license to do what you want. That you understand that grace is a transcendent, propelling force that comes down from above. But it is nullified if faith, the ascendant force, doesn't rise to meet it to accomplish what grace comes down from heaven for. Grace comes down from heaven so faith can rise to heaven and meet it in the middle where things can be accomplished in cooperation with the intention of God. So faith is when you respond to grace with a living intention that you hold before the Lord, that if God said it, he will do it, and if he spoke it, he will bring it to pass. And if he indeed is telling us we've got to go to Babylon, then I need to change my attitude about where I'm going. I can't curse the place God's sending me to. I may not like where I have to go, but if God is sending me, you can either see yourself as going into captivity or see yourself as being sent on a mission. But I don't like to suffer. Tough. Life is tough. You were not given any guarantees in life. The best way to have a happy life is to discover sooner or later that life doesn't hand out happy cards all the time. Well, how do I cope? You need to see yourself as a Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel, yes, your identity is your destiny. My identity is my destiny. Yes, who you are determines what you become. Well, who am I? You are Zerubbabel. What does that mean? Sown in confusion. Sown in Babylon. God says, Zerubbabel, you are going to be one of the ones I sow into the worst atmosphere and prove that if I sow you in a dark place, no matter how dry and parched it is, like a root out of parched ground, you're going to grow up even in the midst of an exiled place of confusion and devastation where the worst things that could ever happen in your life have happened. And I'm going to show you that you will be planted and flourish by rivers of living water, and you will bear fruit in every season and contradict the environment and become the attractor factor for everyone that has a hope for the future. Zerubbabel, I've got my hand of grace on you, and no matter where I plant you, you will not
not fail. Oh, I don't know if I'm talking to the right people this morning. There are just some places God sends us without asking our permission. And we forgot Babylon's coming down. So if we put our faith in Babylon, we put our faith in the wrong place. But if we put our faith in God, God says, I'll sow you into Babylon. And one of the reasons Babylon will fall is because you're there. Well, what do you mean? I allowed myself in an earlier stage of history to be captured and taken into exile by the Philistines. And they put me in their temple right next to their fish god with the head of a fish and the arms of a man. And overnight, while I was standing next to Dagon, I reached out one of the wings of the cherubim and just did this. And Dagon fell over and lost his head. It wasn't good for press. So the priest came in and glued his head back together in the morning and allowed us into the and said, oh, Dagon is just fine. It was just an accident. But that next night, when nobody was looking, I pushed him over again and I chopped his arms off. Because I refuse to take second seat to false gods. Babylon is coming down. And the only reason I sent you into a place of confusion was not to confuse you, but to get you to see and hear clearly that there's only one source of truth, only one source of reality, only one source of power. And if you arrive to a place of seeing and hearing only Him, you will bear fruit in every environment and in every season. Do you understand that Psalm 1 rather, was written in Babylon? How blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. Here's a progression. Walks, stands, sits. Walks, stands, sits. It means it goes from walking to standing to sitting. You go from walking in the counsel of the ungodly to standing in the path of sinners to sitting with the mockers. That's a negative progression. Until you sit there and curse everybody else because you think they're silly for believing God. Still believing in a God who requires us to obey Him, to trust Him, to love Him. You can't do that without grace. But God would never ask you something that He didn't want your faith to rise to the level of believing and trusting Him, because He's a good God. How blessed is the man who doesn't walk in the counsel of the ungodly, stand in the path of sinners, or sit in the seat of the scornful. Paul in the book of Ephesians says the exact opposite order. You're seated in heavenly places with Christ. You stand in the authority of Christ, and you walk it out and crush the head of the enemy. Sit, walk, stand. It's the opposite of what happens in Psalm 1. Which means God's looking for a company of people that He can sow into Babylon, that will not stand or sit or walk where the culture is going, and will be planted. There may not be a whole lot in Babylon because it's desert, but God will pipe in water from the mountains of Zion. And if you want to be sown in Babylon, you've got to let God plant you somewhere near water. God will get the water to flow. That's grace. He will not force you to drink. That requires faith. You can either sit by the waters of Babylon and weep, or sit by those waters and wash your hands and pray, because there are no rivers in Babylon. There are only irrigation canals, and the water is piped in from the promised land. Oftentimes in our life, we feel like this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. God, you're not fair. I know none of you have ever said that. You're all so holy and righteous, perfect. And then on top of that, you say, but why don't you allow somebody else to go through this? Look at all I've done for you. Oh, you're going to make a list of how meritorious you are for grace? As though you deserve grace? None of us, if we ever got what we deserve, we wouldn't be here. We don't get what we deserve. We get what we don't deserve. Grace is when you get way above what you ever deserved because God is kindly disposed to be gracious. Zerubbabel, sown in Babylon. I'm sending you. See, there are just some seasons in life when your inner city, your inner Jerusalem, city of peace, is ransacked by the powers of darkness and is leveled to the ground. And your peace is disturbed. Your shalom seems to be far from whole. So everything's missing, everything's broken. And God says, I need you to see what you've been missing. Well, I don't see nothing now but a pile of rocks. And then on top of that, the enemy burned the city with fire. So all the stones are burned. Can I tell you, the longer you live, the more you'll be burned by life. Say, Bishop, please tell us something happy. I'm trying to help you. Life isn't always fair. But when life hands you that stuff because you live in a fallen world, you've got to remember you were chosen in Him before the foundation of the world, and He had no regrets about sowing you into a confused culture because He wanted to make you rise out of the ashes as a testimony of His grace. Somebody give Jesus a shout.
Beloved, the message of grace as a revelation in life can't be something you simply skip over. It's something you need to live in on a daily basis. I invite you to join me and sow into that revelation right now and help me take the gospel all around the world to see souls saved and hearts and lives changed. Sow your best love gift right now, $35 or more, and let me say thank you by putting in your hands this powerful, prophetic, and timely 6-message series, Grace, the Favor That Leans in Your Direction, on CD or DVD, your choice. Call now, sow that seed, partner with me, and let's see the kingdom advance for Jesus' glory. For those of you that will sow a $55 seed or more, I'm also going to give you 3 powerful messages called The Power to Prevail on the promises to the overcomer in the first 3 chapters of the book of Revelation. This is a revolutionary series on overcoming that will bless your life and be a companion to the Grace series. And for those of you that will sow a love gift of $75 or more, I'm really excited to say not only will you get the series on grace, not only will you get the CD series on the power to prevail, my brand new book, Life Quest, Navigating the Gap Between Your Current Reality and Your Desired Reality. It is perhaps of all the 30 books I've written the most exciting so far. It will invite you to navigate the in-between place between your former somewhere and your next somewhere with confidence, courage, and faith. Call that number now. Sow your love gift, $35, $55, $75 or more. And let me say thank you for partnering with me by putting these resources in your hands to add to your learning library and encourage you to grow in the grace and in the power of the kingdom of Christ and of His love. So now, call now.